bubbly. Yeah. Here's to another goddamn new year. And outside, 2 million drunk Bostonians are getting ready to sing Auld Lang Syne out of tune. I sit there in my easy chair, looking at the clouds, orange with celebration. I wonder if you're out there. Hey! The ice of Boston is muddy and reflects no light, been day or night, and I slip on it every time. Open the third bottle of bubbly. Yeah, and I take that bottle of champagne, go into the kitchen, stand in front of the kitchen window, and I take all my clothes off, take that bottle of champagne, and I pour it on my head, feel a cascade through my hair and across my chest, and the phone rings. And it's my mother. And she says, "Hi, honey, how's Boston?" And I stand there all alone on New Year's Eve, buck naked, drenched in champagne, looking at a bunch of strangers, looking at them, looking at me, looking at them, and I say, "Oh, fine, Mom. How's Washington? Hey, the ice of Boston is muddy and reflects no light, midday or night, and I slip on it every time." Hey, the ice of Boston is muddy and reflects no light, midday or night, and I slip on it every time, yeah. So I guess the party line is I followed you up here. Well, I don't know about that. Mainly because knowing about that would involve knowing about some pathetic, ridiculous, and absolutely true things about myself. I'd rather not admit to right now. I woke up at 3 a.m. with the radio on, that Gladys Knight and the Pip song on, about how she'd rather live in his world with him than live in her own world alone. And I laid there, head spinning, trying to fall asleep, and I thought to myself, "Oh, Gladys, girl, I love you, but oh, get a life! Hey, the ice of Boston is muddy and reflects no light, midday or night, and I slip on it every time." Hey, the ice of Boston is muddy and reflects no light, midday or night, and I slip on it every time. Time, time, time. Time, time, time. Time, time, time. Time, time, time.
One April, year of the Tux medicated pad. All I know is my dad said to come here. Come right in, you'll see a chair to your immediate left. So I am here. It's just fine. 7-Up, maybe some lemon soda. I guess not, thanks. I'm just here is all, and I'm kind of wondering why my dad sent me down, you know. Your door there doesn't have anything on it, and I was just at the dentist last week, and so I'm wondering why I'm here exactly is all. That's why I'm not sitting down yet. You're how old, Hal? 14? I'll be 11 in June. Are you a dentist? Is this like a dental consult? You're here to converse. Converse? Yes, pardon me while I key in this age correction. Your father had listed you as 14 for some reason. Converse as in with you? You're here to converse with me, Hal, yes. I'm almost going to have to implore you to have a lemon soda. Your mouth is making those dry, sticky, inadequate saliva sounds. Dr. Cigarelli says that's one reason for all the caries is that I have low salivary output. Those dry, sticky, salivaless sounds which can be death to a good conversation. But I rode my bike all the way up here against the wind just to converse with you? Is the conversation supposed to start with me asking why? I'll begin by asking if you know the meaning of implore, Hal. Probably I'll go ahead and take a 7-Up then if you're going to implore. I'll ask you again whether you know implore, young sir. Young sir? You're wearing that bow tie after all. Isn't that rather an invitation to a young sir? Implore is a regular verb, transitive, to call upon, or for in supplication to pray to, or for earnestly to beseech, to entreat. Weak synonym, urge. Strong synonym, beg. Etymology, unmixed, from Latin implorare, meaning in, plorare, meaning in this context to cry aloud. OED, condensed volume 6, page 1387, column 12, and a little bit of 13. Good Lord, she didn't exaggerate, did she? I tend to get beat up sometimes at the academy for stuff like that. Does this bear on why I'm here? That I'm continentally ranked junior tennis player who can also recite great chunks of the dictionary verbatim at will and tends to get beat up and wears a bow tie? Are you like a specialist for gifted kids? Does this mean they think I'm gifted? Here you are. Drink up. Thanks. You were thirsty. So then if I sit down, you'll fill me in? A professional conversationalist knows his mucous membranes after all. I might have to burp a little bit in a second from the soda. I'm alerting you ahead of time. Hell, you're here because I am a professional conversationalist. And your father has made an appointment with me for you to converse. Excuse me. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. You are a professional conversationalist? I am, yes, as I believe I just stated, a professional conversationalist. Don't start looking at your watch as if I'm taking up valuable time of yours. If himself made the appointment and paid for the time supposed to be mine, right? Not yours. And then, but what's that supposed to mean? Professional conversationalist. A conversationalist is just one who converses much. You actually charge a fee to converse much. A conversationalist is also one who, I'm sure you'll recall, excels in conversation. That's Webster's 7th. That's not the OED. Tap, tap. I'm an OED man, doctor, if that's what you are. Are you a doctor? Do you have a doctorate? Most people like to put their diplomas up, I notice, if they have credentials. And Webster's 17th isn't even up to date. Webster's 8th amends to one who converses with much enthusiasm. Another 7-Up. Is himself still having this hallucination I never speak? Is that why he put the moms up to having me bike up here? Himself is my dad. We call him himself, as in, quote, the man himself, as it were. We called my mother the moms. My brother coined the term. I understand this isn't unusual. I understand most more or less normal families address each other internally by means of pet names and terms and monikers. Don't even think about asking me what my little internal moniker is. Tap, tap, tap. But himself hallucinates sometimes. Lately, you ought to be appraised, was the thrust. I'm wondering why the moms let him send me pedaling up here uphill against the wind when I've got a challenge match at 3 o'clock to converse with an enthusiast with a blank door and no diplomas anywhere in view. I, in my small way, would like to think it had as much to do with me as with you, that my reputation preceded me. Isn't that usually a pejorative clause? I'm a wonderful fun to talk to. I'm a consummate professional. People leave my parlor in states. You are here. It's conversation time. Shall we discuss Byzantine erotica? How did you know I was interested in Byzantine erotica? Oh, you seem persistently to confuse me with someone who merely hangs out a shingle with the word conversationalist on it, and this operation with a fly-by-night one strung together with chewing gum and twine. You think I have no support staff? Researchers at my beck? You think we don't delve full bore into the psyches of those for whom we've made appointments to converse? You don't think this fully accredited limited partnership would have an interest in obtaining data on what informs and stimulates our conversees? Well, I only know one person who'd ever use full bore in casual conversation. There's nothing casual about a professional conversationalist and staff. We delve, we obtain, and then some, young sir. Okay, Alexandrian or Constantinian? You think we haven't thoroughly researched your own connection with the whole current intra-provincial crises in southern Quebec? What intra-provincial crises in southern Quebec? I thought you wanted to talk racy mosaics. This is an upscale district of a vital North American metropolis, Hal. Standards here are upscale and high. A professional conversationalist flat-out full-bore delves. Do you, for one moment, think that a professional plier of the trade of conversation would fail to probe beak deep into your family's sordid liaison with the pan-Canadian resistance notorious M. Duplessis and his malevolent but allegedly irresistible amanuensis cum operative Luria P. Listen, are you okay? Do you... I'm 10, for Pete's sakes. I think maybe your appointment calendar squares got juggled. I'm the potentially gifted 10-year-old tennis and lexical prodigy whose mom's a continental mover and shaker in the prescriptive grammar academic world and whose dad's a towering figure in optical and avant-garde film circles and single-handedly founded the Enfield Tennis Academy but drinks wild turkey at like 5 a.m. and pitches over sideways during dawn drills on the court some days, and some days presents with delusions about people's mouths moving but nothing coming out. I'm not even up to J yet in the condensed OED, much less Quebec or Malevolent Lurias. Of the fact that photos of the aforementioned liaison being leaked to Der Spiegel resulted in the bizarre deaths of both Ottawan Paparazzo and the Bavarian International Affairs editor of an alpenstock through the abdomen and an ill-swallowed cocktail onion, respectively. I just finished Jew's ear. I'm just starting on Jew's harp and the general theory of oral lyres. I've never even skied. That you could dare to imagine we'd fail conversationally to countenance certain weekly, shall we say, maternal assignations with a certain unnamed bisexual bassoonist in the Albertan Secret Guards Tactical Bands Unit? Gee, is that the exit over there I see? That you're blithe in attention to your own dear grammatical mother's cavortings with not one, not two, but over 30 Near Eastern medical attachés. Would it be rude to tell you your mustache is askew? That her introduction of esoteric mnemonic steroids, stereochemically not dissimilar to your father's own daily hypodermic megavitamin supplement derived from a certain organic testosterone regeneration compound distilled by the Hivaro shaman of the South Central LA basin into your innocent-looking bowl of morning Ralston. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and tell you, your whole face is kind of running, sort of, if you want to check. Your nose is pointing at your lap. that your quote-unquote complimentary Dunlop white-body tennis racket, super secret formulaic composition materials of high modulus graphite reinforced polycarbonate polybutylene rosin are organochemically identical. I say again, identical to the gyroscopic balance sensor and mise-en-scene appropriation card and a priapistic entertainment cartridge implanted into your very own towering father's anaplastic cerebrum after his cruel series of detoxifications and convolution smoothings and gastrectomy and prostatectomy and pancreatectomy and phalloctomy. Tap, tap, could possibly escape the combined investigative attention of, and it strikes me, I've definitely seen that Argyle sweater vest before. That's himself's special Interdependence Day celebratory dinner Argyle sweater vest that he makes a point of never having cleaned. I know those stains. I was there for that clot of veal marsala right there. Is this whole appointment a date-connected thing? Is this April Fool's, Dad? Or do I need to call the moms? Who requires only daily evidence that you speak, that you recognize the occasional vista beyond your own generous mondragonoid nose's fleshy tip? You rented a whole office and face for this? But leave your old unmistakable sweater vest on? And how do you even get down here before me with the mercury up on blocks after? Did you fool CT into giving you the keys to a car? Who used to pray daily for the day his own dear late father would sit, cough, open that bloody tissue of the Tucson Citizen, not turn that newspaper into the room's fifth wall, and who after all this light and noise has apparently spawned the same silence? Who's lived his whole ruddy, bloody, cruddy life in five-walled rooms? Dad, I've got a duly scheduled challenge match with Shocked in like 12 minutes. Wind at my downhill back or no. I've got this oral lyrologist who's going to be outside Brighton Best Savings wearing a pre-designated necktie at straight up 5. I have to mow his lawn for a month for this interview. I can't just sit here watching you think I'm mute while your fake nose points at the floor. And are you hearing me talking that, Dad? It speaks. It accepts soda, and it defines implore and converses with you, praying for just one conversation, amateur or no. That does not end in terror. That does not end like all the others. You staring, me swallowing. Son. 9 May, year of the dependent adult undergarment. Another way fathers impact sons is that sons, once their voices have changed in puberty, invariably answer the telephone with the same locutions and intonations as their fathers. This holds true regardless of whether the fathers are still alive. Because he left his dormitory room before 6 for dawn drills and often didn't get back there until supper, packing his book bag and knapsack and gear bag for the whole day, together with selecting his best strung rackets, it all took Hal some time. Plus, he usually collected and packed and selected in the dark and with stealth because his brother Mario was usually still asleep in the other bed. Mario didn't drill and couldn't play and needed all the sleep he could get. Hal held his complimentary gear bag and was putting different pairs of sweats to his face, trying to find the cleanest pair by smell, when the telephone console sounded. Mario threshed and sat up in bed, a small hunched shape with a big head against the gray light of the window. Hal got to the console on the second ring and had the transparent phone's antenna out by the third. His way of answering the phone sounded like, "Hello? I want to tell you," the voice on the phone said, "my head is filled with things to say." Hal held 3 pairs of ETA sweatpants in the hand that didn't hold the phone. He saw his older brother succumb to gravity and fall back limp against the pillows. Mario often sat up and fell back still asleep. "I don't mind," Hal said softly. "I could wait forever." That's what you think, the voice said. The connection was cut. It had been Oren. Hey, Hal. The light in the room was creepy gray, a kind of non-light. Hal could hear Brandt laughing at something Kenkel had said off down the hall and the clank of their janitorial buckets. The person on the phone had been O. Hey, Hal. Mario was awake. It took 4 pillows to support Mario's oversized skull. His voice came from the tangled bedding. Is it still dark out, or is it me? Go back to sleep. It isn't even 6. Hal put the good leg into the sweatpants first. Who was it? Shoving 3 coverless Dunlop white bodies into the gear bag and zipping the bag partway up so the handles had room to stick out, carrying all 3 bags back over the console to deactivate the ringer on the phone, he said, No one you know, I don't think. Year of the Dependent Adult Undergarment. Though only one half ethnic Arab and a Canadian by birth and residence, the medical attaché is nevertheless once again under Saudi diplomatic immunity, this time as special ear, nose, throat consultant to the personal physician of Prince Q, the Saudi Minister of Home Entertainment, here on northeastern USA soil with his legation to cut another mammoth deal with Interlace Tel Entertainment. The medical attaché turns 37 tomorrow, Thursday, 2 April in the North American Lunar YDAU. The legation finds the promotional subsidy of the North American calendar hilariously vulgar, to say nothing of the arresting image of the idolatrous West's most famous and self-congratulating idol, the colossal libertine statue, wearing some sort of enormous adult-designed diaper. A hilariously apposite image, popular in the news photos of so many international journals. The attaché's medical practice being normally divided between Montreal and the Rub al-Khali, it is his first trip back to USA soil since completing his residency 8 years ago. His duties here involve migrating with the prince and his retinue between Interlace's 2 hubs of manufacture and dissemination in Phoenix, Arizona, USA, and Boston, Massachusetts, USA, respectively, offering expert ENT assistance to the personal physician of Prince Q. The medical attaché's particular expertise is the maxillofacial consequences of imbalances in intestinal flora. Prince Q, as would anyone who refuses to eat pretty much anything but Toblerone, suffers chronically from Candida albicans, with attendant susceptibilities to monilineal sinusitis and thrush, the yeasty sores and sinal impactions of which require almost daily drainage in the cold and damp of early spring Boston, USA. A veritable artist possessed of a deftness nonpareil with cotton swab and evacuation hypo, the medical attaché is known among the shrinking upper classes of petro-Arab nations as the Bakey of maxillofacial yeast, his staggering fee scale as wholly ad valorem. Saudi consulting fees in particular are somewhere just past obscene, but the medical attaché's duties on this trip are personally draining and sort of nauseous, and when he arrives back at the sumptuous apartments he had his wife sublet in districts far from the legation's normal Back Bay and Scottsdale digs, at the day's end he needs unwinding in the very worst way. A more than averagely devout follower of the North American Sufism promulgated in his childhood by Pierre Vaillant, the medical attaché partakes of neither keef nor distilled spirits and must unwind without medical aid. When he arrives home after evening prayers, he wants to look upon a spicy and 100% Sharia halal dinner, piping hot and arranged and steaming pleasantly on its attachable tray. He wants his bib ironed and laid out by the tray at the ready, and he wants the living room's teleputer booted and warmed up, and the evening's entertainment cartridges already selected and arranged and lined up in dock, ready for remote insertion into the viewer's drive. He reclines before the viewer in his special electronic recliner, and his black-veiled, ethnically Arab wife wordlessly attends him, loosening any constrictive clothing, adjusting the room's lighting, fitting the complexly molded dinner tray over his head so that his shoulders support the tray and allow it to project into space just below his chin, that he may enjoy his hot dinner without having to remove his eyes from whatever entertainment is up and playing. He has a narrow imperial-style beard, which his wife also attends, and keeps free of detritus from the tray just below. The medical attaché sits and watches and eats and watches, unwinding by visible degrees until the angles of his body in the chair and his head on his neck indicate that he has passed into sleep. At which point his special electronic recliner can be made automatically to recline to full horizontal, and luxuriant silk analog bedding emerges flowingly from long slots in the appliance's sides. And unless his wife is inconsiderate and clumsy with the recliner's remote handheld controls, the medical attaché is permitted to ease effortlessly from unwound expectation into a fully relaxed night's sleep, still right there in the recumbent recliner, the TP set to run a recursive loop of low-volume surf and light rain on broad green leaves. Except that is for Wednesday nights, which in Boston are permitted to be his wife's Arab Women's Advanced League tennis night with the other legation wives and companions at the plush Mount Auburn Club in West Waterton, on which nights he is not around wordlessly to attend him. She is not around. Since Wednesday is the USA weekday on which fresh Toblerone hits Boston, Massachusetts, USA's Newbury Street's import confectioner's shelves, and the Saudi Minister of Home Entertainment's inability to control his appetites for Wednesday Toblerone often requires the medical attaché to remain in personal attendance all evening on the bulk-rented 14th floor of the Back Bay Hilton, juggling tongue depressors and cotton swabs, nystatin and ibuprofen and styptics and antibiotic thrush salves, rehabilitating the mucous membranes of the dyspeptic and distressed and often, but not always, penitent and appreciative Saudi Prince Q. So, on 1 April, YDAU, when the medical attaché is, it is alleged, insufficiently deaf with a Q-tip on an ulcerated sinal necrosis and is subjected at just 1800 hours to a fit of febrile thrushive peak from the florally imbalanced Minister of Home Entertainment, and is by high-volume fiat replaced at the royal bedside by the prince's personal physician, who's summoned by beeper from the Hilton sauna. And when the damn personal physician pats the medical attaché on the shoulder and tells him to pay the peak no mind, that it's just the yeast talking, but to just head on home and unwind and for once make a well-deserved early Wednesday evening of it. But so when the attaché does get home at like 1840 hours, his spacious Boston apartments are empty, the living room lights undimmed, dinner unheated, and the attachable tray still in the dishwasher, and worst, of course, no entertainment cartridges have been obtained from the Boylston Street Interlace outlet where the medical attaché's wife, like all the veiled wives and companions of the prince's legatees, has a complimentary goodwill account. And even if he weren't far too exhausted and tightly wound to venture back into the damp urban night to pick up entertainment cartridges, the medical attaché realizes that his wife has, as always on Wednesdays, taken the car with the diplomatic immunity license plates, without which your thinking alien wouldn't even dream of trying to park publicly at night in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. The medical attaché's unwinding options are thus severely constricted. The living room's lavish TP receives also the spontaneous disseminations of the interlaced subscription pulse matrix, but the procedures for ordering specific spontaneous pulses from the service are so technologically and cryptographically complex that the attaché has always left the whole business to his wife. On this Wednesday night, trying buttons and abbreviations almost at random, the attaché is able to summon up only live USA professional sports, which he has always found brutish and repellent. Texaco Oil Company sponsored opera, which the attaché has seen today more than enough of the human uvula, thank you very much, a re-disseminated episode of the popular afternoon interlaced children's program, Mr. Bouncity Bounce, which the attaché thinks for a moment might be a documentary on bipolar mood disorders, until he catches on and thumbs the selection panel hastily, and a re-disseminated session of the scantily clad variable impact early AM Fit Forever home aerobic series of the interlace aerobics guru Miss Tawny Kondo, the scantily clad and splay-limbed immodesty of which threatens the devout medical attaché with the possibility of impure thoughts. The only entertainment cartridges anywhere in the apartment, a foul-tempered search reveals, are those which have arrived in Wednesday's USA postal delivery, left on the sideboard in the living room, along with personal and professional faxes, and mail the medical attaché declines to read until it's been pre-scanned by his wife for relevant interest to himself. The sideboard is against the wall opposite the room's electronic recliner under a triptych of high-quality Byzantine erotica. The padded cartridge mailers with their distinctive rectangular bulge are mixed haphazardly in with the less entertaining mail. Searching for something to unwind with, the medical attaché tears the different padded mailers open along their designated perforations. There is an ONANMA specialty service film on actinomycete class antibiotics and irritable bowel syndrome. There is a 1 April YDAU CBC Pathé North American News Summary 40-minute cartridge, available daily by a wife's auto subscription, and either transmitted to TP by unrecordable interlace pulse or express posted on a single-play ROM self-erasing disc. There is the Arabic language video edition of April's Self magazine for the attaché's wife, NASA's cover model, chastely swathed and veiled. There is a plain brown and irritatingly untitled cartridge case in a featureless white 3-day standard USA first-class padded cartridge mailer. The padded mailer is postmarked suburban Phoenix area in Arizona, USA. And the return address box has only the term Happy Anniversary, with a small drawn crude face smiling in ballpoint ink instead of a return address or incorporated logo. Though by birth and residence a native of Quebec, where the language of discourse is not English, the medical attaché knows quite well that the English word anniversary does not mean the same as birthday. And the medical attaché and his veiled wife were united in the eyes of God and prophet not in April but in October, 4 years prior, in the Rub al-Khali. Adding to the padded mailer's confusion is the fact that anything from Prince Q's legation in Phoenix, Arizona, USA, would carry a diplomatic seal instead of routine ONA and postage. The medical attaché in sum feels tightly wound and badly underappreciated and is prepared in advance to be irritated by the item inside, which is merely a standard black entertainment cartridge, but is wholly unlabeled and not in any sort of colorful or informative or inviting cartridge case, and has only another of these vapid USA-type circular smiling heads embossed upon it, where the registration and duration codes are supposed to be embossed. The medical attaché is puzzled by the cryptic mailer and face and case and unlabeled entertainment, and preliminarily irritated by the amount of time he's had to spend upright at the sideboard attending to mail, which is not his task. The sole reason he does not throw the unlabeled cartridge in the waste can or put it aside for his wife to preview for relevance is because there are such woefully slim entertainment pickings on his wife's irritating Americanized tennis league evening away from her place at home. The attaché will pop the cartridge in and scan just enough of its contents to determine whether it is irritating or of an irrelevant nature and not entertaining or engaging in any way. He will heat the prepared halal lamb and spicy halal garnish in the microwave oven until piping hot. Arrange it attractively on his tray. Preview the first few moments of the puzzling and or irritating or possibly mysteriously blank entertainment cartridge first, then unwind with the news summary, and then perhaps have a quick, unlibidinous look at Nass' spring line of sexless black devout women's wear. Then we'll insert the recursive surf and rain cartridge and make a well-deserved early Wednesday evening of it, hoping only that his wife will not return from her tennis league in her perspiration-dampened black ankle-length tennis ensemble and remove his dinner tray from his sleeping neck in a clumsy or undeft fashion that will awaken him, potentially, when he settles in with the tray and the cartridge. The TP viewer digital display reads 1927 hours. Year of the trial-sized Dove Bar. Wardine say her mama ain't treat her right. Reginald, he come around my blacktop at my building where me and Dolores Epps jump double dutch, and he say, Clinette, Wardine be down my crib, cry, say her mama ain't treat her right, and I go on with Reginald to his building where he live at, and Wardine be sit deep far back in a closet in Reginald crib, and she be cry. Reginald gonna lift Wardine out of the closet, and me with him crying, and I be rub on the wet all over Wardine's face, and Reginald be so careful when he take off all his shirt she got on, tell Wardine to let me see. Wardine, back all beat up and cut up, big stripes of cut up and down, Wardine back, big stripes. And around the stripes, the skin like the skin on folks' lips be like sick down in my insides to look at it. Wardine be cry. Reginald say, Wardine say her mama ain't treat her right. Say her mama beat Wardine with a hanger. Say Wardine mama man Roy Tony. Be want to lie down with Wardine. Be give Wardine candy. Be stand in her way in Wardine face, and he ain't let her pass without all the time touching her. Reginald say, Wardine say Roy Tony at night when Wardine mama at work, he come in to the mattresses where Wardine and William and Chantal and Roy the baby sleep at, and he stand there in the dark, high, and say quiet things at her and breathe. Wardine mama say Wardine tempt Roy Tony into sin. Wardine say, she say Wardine tried to take away Roy Tony into evil and sin with her young tight self. She beat Wardine back with hangers out of the closet. My mama say Wardine mama not right in the head. My mama scared of Roy Tony. Wardine be cry. Reginald, he down and beg for Wardine. Tell Reginald mama how Wardine mama treat Wardine. Reginald say he love his Wardine. Say he love, but ain't never before this time could understand why Wardine won't lay down with him like girls do their man. Say Wardine ain't never let Reginald take off her shirts until tonight she come to Reginald crib in his building and be cry. She let Reginald take off her shirts to see how Wardine mama beat Wardine because Roy Tony. Reginald love his Wardine. Wardine be like to die of scared. She say no to Reginald beg. She say, if she go to Reginald mama, then Reginald mama go to Wardine mama, and then Wardine mama think Wardine to be laid down with Reginald. Wardine say her mama say Wardine let a man lie down before she's 16 and she beat Wardine to death. Reginald say he ain't no way going to let that happen to Wardine. Roy Tony killed Dolores Epps' brother, Columbus Epps, at the Brighton Projects 4 years gone. Roy Tony on parole. Wardine say he show Wardine he got something on his ankle, send radio signals to parole that he's still here in Brighton. Roy Tony can't believe Brighton. Roy Tony brother be Wardine father. He gone. Reginald tried to hush Wardine, but he cannot stop Wardine cry. Wardine looked like crazy. She's so scared. She say she kill herself if me or Reginald tell our mamas. She say, Clynette, you my half-sister, I beg you that you do not tell you mama or my mama on Roy Tony. Reginald tell Wardine to hush herself and lie down quiet. He put shed spread out the kitchen on Wardine cuts on her back. He run his finger with grease so careful down pink lines of her getting beat with a hanger. Wardine say she do not feel nothing in her back ever since spring. She lies stomach on Reginald's floor and say she ain't got no feeling in her skin of her back. When Reginald gone to get the water, she asks me the truth. How bad is her back look when Reginald look at it? Is she still pretty? She cry. I ain't tell my mama on Wardine and Reginald and Wardine mama and Roy Tony. My mama scared of Roy Tony. My mama be the lady Roy Tony killed Columbus Epps over. 4 years gone in the Brighton projects. For love. But I know Reginald tell. Reginald say he gonna die before Wardine mama beat Wardine again. He say he take himself up to Roy Tony and say him to not mess with Wardine or breathe by her mattress at night. He say he take himself on down to the playground at the Brighton Projects where Roy Tony do business, and he go to Roy Tony man to man, and he make Roy Tony make it all right. But I think Roy Tony gonna kill Reginald if Reginald go. I think Roy Tony gonna kill Reginald, and then Wardine mama beat Wardine to death with a hanger. And then nobody know except me, and I'm gonna have a child. In the 8th American educational grade, Bruce Green fell dreadfully in love with a classmate who had the unlikely name of Mildred Bonk. The name was unlikely because if ever an 8th grader looked like a Daphne Christensen or a Kimberly St. Simone or something like that, it was Mildred Bonk. She was the kind of fatally pretty and nubile wraith-like figure who glides through the sweaty junior high corridors of every nocturnal emitter's dreamscape. Hair that Green had heard described by an overwrought teacher as flaxen. A body which the fickle angel of puberty, the same angel who didn't even seem to know Bruce Green's zip code, had visited, kissed, and already left. Back in 6. Legs, which not even orange kids with purple glitter-encrusted laces could make unserious. Shy, iridescent, coltish, pelvically and fractious, amply busted, given to dividend movements of hand-brushing flaxen hair from front of dear creamy forehead, movements which drove Bruce Green up a private tree. A vision in a sundress and silly shoes. Mildred L. Bonk. And then by 10th grade, in one of those queer when-did-it-happen metamorphoses, Mildred Bonk had become an imposing member of the frightening Winchester High School set that smoked full-strength Marlboros in the alley between senior and junior halls, and that left school altogether at lunchtime driving away in a loud, low-slung car to drink beer and smoke dope, driving around with sound systems of illegal wattage, using Visine and Clorets, etc. She was one of them. She chewed gum, or worse, in the cafeteria. Her dear dividend face, now a bored mask of attitude, her flaxen locks, now teased and gelled into what looked for all the world like the consequence of a finger stuck into an electric socket. Bruce Green saved up for a low-slung old car and practiced attitude on the aunt who'd take him in. He developed a will, and by the year of what would have been graduation, Bruce Green was way more bored, imposing, and frightening than even Mildred Bonk. And he and Mildred Bonk and tiny, incontinent Harriet Bonk Green lived just off the Alston Spur in a shiny house trailer with another frightening couple and with Tommy Ducey, the infamous hair-lip pot and sundries dealer who kept several large snakes in unclean, uncovered aquaria which smelled, which Tommy Ducey didn't notice because his upper lip completely covered his nostrils and all he could smell was lip. Mildred Bonk got high in the afternoon and watched cereal cartridges, and Bruce Green had a steady job at Leisure Time Ice. And for a while, life was more or less one big party.
Some morning